So, for this video lecture, I'm going to talk about the nutrition and feeding of swine. So, last video lecture, I've talked about the management practices that you need to do, or the management practices that you need to do when it comes to gestating gilts or sow, when it comes to farrowing, when it comes to the piglets. So on those video lectures, I've talked a little bit on the feeding management that you need to do. So in here, we're going a little bit deeper on the nutrition and feeding of the different, you could say the different stages of the swine. So from the time that it is a piglet up to the time that it is sexually matured, that it is ready for farrowing. So all of these stages, from piglets to growers to finishers to the farrowing stages, the gestating stages, all of these requires specific nutrient management, nutrients. It requires specific nutrients, and it requires a specific feeding management. So with that, let's first discuss the digestive system of swine. So ito, alam kong natakil na sa mga ibang subjects ninyo, natakil na rin sa bio ninyo, sa anatomy and physiology ninyo. So I will not go into detail dun sa mga different parts dun sa digestive system ng swine, since most of it, kasi itong mga swine na to, they are considered as monogastric. So, basically, they are the same as humans. So, alam kong familiar na kayo dito sa mga different parts na to. So, first is the mouth na tinatawag. So, the mouth is the space extending from the lips or beak. So, pag swine dito sa lips or yung sa snout to the pharynx, and it is bounded laterally by the cheeks against friction. So, itong mouth na to, it is often called as the oral cavity or the vocal cavity. So, itong mouth, this is where yung food natin, or yung feed ng swine first enter into the digestive tract. So, yun. So, itong function ng mouth includes yung prehension. So, when we say prehension, ito yung pagkuha mo ng feed, pagkuha ng swine ng mga pagkain nila, yung feed nila, or kung sa native, yung mga grasses, yung mga forages. So, yun yung prehension. And then, yung mastication, ito yung pag ningunguya, or yung brine-breakdown ng mga teeth, yung feed na kinuha ng swine. And then yung insalivation, ito yung pag-take action ng salivary amylase doon sa feed, doon sa paglalagay ng parang saliva doon sa feed. Then yung bolus formation, or you could say, ito kasing bolus more on sa ruminant, pero same pa rin, may namumuo pa rin na structure or bolus po, may parang nabubuo pa rin na parang bolus doon sa mga swine. So yun yung bolus formation na tinatawag, yung before it will enter yung stomach, nagiging bolus na yung feed, due to the action of mastication as well as the action of the insalivation. So yun, ito yung mga function ng mouth. So yung mouth, may mga associated structures na rin yan, pero hindi ko na i-discuss. So other structures of the mouth, you have the teeth. So it is important in mastication. You also have the cheeks. You also have yung jaw na tinatawag, yung palate na tinatawag, at saka yung mga tonsil. So, all of that are associated with the mouth. Basta yung tandaan, ito yung function ng mouth. So the mouth will serve as a valuable role not only for the consumption of food but also provides for the initial partial size reduction through grinding. So through mastication, with the aid of the teeth, ginagrind ngayon ng swine, ng pig, yung kinuha niyang feed. So by grinding, by mastication, it will reduce yung size ng feed. So, yun yung ginagawa. Then, while teeth serves the main role in grinding to reduce food size and increase surface area, the first action to begin the chemical breakdown of food occurs when feed is mixed with saliva. So, yun. Yun. So, mastication or yung grinding na tinatawag, it is the role, yung main na gumagawa nun is yung teeth. Pero for the yung talagang pag-breakdown, chemical breakdown ng feed, yung gumagawa nun is yung saliva. So, yun yung tinatawag na insalivation na tinatawag, wherein the feed is mixed with the saliva. So, I know that you are familiar with saliva. So, merong parang enzyme yung saliva which is called yung salivary amylase which can break down yung starch doon sa feed into maltose and isomaltose. So yun yung ginagawa doon sa mouth. Grinding, and then this will be the start of the chemical breakdown. Then, yung esophagus naman, it is the continuation of the pharynx na tinatawag. It will carry the bolus or yung feed from the pharynx into the stomach. So, from the mouth, pupunta ngayon ito sa esophagus. So, itong esophagus na ito, it is a muscular tube that is collapsible and it is located behind the trachea. So, yun yung esophagus. So, it is a muscular tube kasi yung mga muscles na nandun sa esophagus, it will help carry yung bulos or yung feed from the mouth into the stomach. Kaya muscular tube siya. Then, dun sa stomach naman, it is a muscular organ responsible for storage, initiating the breakdown of nutrients, and passing the digesta into the small intestine. So, here in the stomach of monogastric, it will secrete mga gastric juices, yung mga hydrochloric acid, which will initiate yung breakdown nung kinain nilang feed. I-breakdown nila into nutrients. And then, itong mga na-breakdown na feed dito, due to the enzymes located or due to the enzymes that are in the stomach, it will pass through the stomach into the small intestine. So, from the mouth to the esophagus, into the stomach, and then into the small intestine. So, in the small intestine, it is the major site of nutrient absorption and is divided into 3 sections. So, yun daw, dun sa small intestine, almost all of the digestive system of animals, monogastric pa man yan or ruminants, most of this nutrient absorption occurs in the small intestine. Now, in the small intestine, it is divided into 3 parts. You have the duodenum, the jejunum, and the ileum. So, we will discuss a little bit of those later on. Pero, yung pancreas, it is involved with both exocrine and endocrine excretion. So, bakit naisama itong pancreas? So, kasi itong pancreas na to, aside from its responsibility for the secretion of insulin and glucagon, it will also secrete mga digestive enzymes and sodium bicarbonate. Now, itong pancreas, it will secrete itong digestive enzyme doon sa small intestine wherein it will help break down further yung food na kinain ng swine. So yun yung parang general function ng pancreas when it comes to yung digestive system ng animal. It will secrete mga digestive enzyme. So in addition to the pancreas na tinatawag, wherein it will secrete yung digestive enzyme doon sa duodenum, yung liver rin, it will secrete yung bile na tinatawag, which is stored in the gallbladder and produced by the liver. So aside from the pancreas, another gland that will aid in the digestion of the feed in the small intestine is the liver, which secretes yung bile na tinatawag. So in the bile, you have this parang substance called the bile salt na tinatawag, which are the active portion of the bile in the digestion process. So yung bile salt mismo yung parang gumagawa ng digestion process doon sa mga kinain na feed ng swine. So yung bile salt, it will primarily assist in the digestion and absorption of fat, but it will also help in the absorption of yung mga fat-soluble vitamins, and it will also aid in the pancreatic lipase in the small intestine. So yun yung ginagawa ng bile, specifically its components yung bile salt. So it will assist in the digestion and absorption of fat, also with the assist on the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, and then it will also aid yung enzyme na pancreatic lipase in the small intestine. So yun yung digestive system, overview of the digestive system of the swine. So diniscuss ko yun in order for us to further understand kung paano nga ba yung nutrition and feeding na yung nutrition and feeding doon sa swine. So although it is just an overview, I know that you've discussed this further, or you've discussed this in depth doon sa anatomy and physiology ninyo. So with that, when it comes to nutrition and feeding, proper nutrition, healthcare, and good management practices contribute a lot to a successful piggery operation. So, ang sinasabi dito that hindi lang yung mga factors, yung mga management practices na ginagawa natin, wala yung parang management practices that is the most important. So, kailangan na lahat ng mga management practices na ginagawa natin ay binibigyan natin ng sapat na pansin, sapat na effort. So, in order for yung piggery operation natin, it will become successful, you need to have proper healthcare, you need to have proper health management, and then you also have in general have a good management practices, and then you also need to have a proper nutrition and feeding on the different stages, different groups of swine. So a well-nourished pig, it will grow faster, and then it will attain market weight earlier. So mas maganda yung pasok ng pera doon sa piggery operation mo if maganda yung nutrition mo. Kasi pag maganda yung nutrition mo, mas mabilis lumaki yung pig, mas kunti lang yung nagastos mo for its feed, and then pag mas mabilis lumaki and edi mas earlier, mas mabilis rin na maibebenta mo. And with proper nutrition, mas efficient sila sa feed utilization. So mas maganda yung feed conversion efficiency nila, mas maganda yung feed conversion ratio. So in proper nutrition, kaakibat rin nito ay mas maganda yung resistance nila, mas maganda yung hindi sila masyadong susceptible to diseases and stress. And at the same time, they are more in reproductive part, they are more prolific, and for sow, they are better in mothering ability. So yon yung importance ng nutrition and feeding. Yung proper nutrition and feeding. So, we have here yung tinatawag na physiological state that will require yung specific nutrients. So, first is the maintenance. So, pag yung swine mo lang is namumuhay lang without any other purposes, like hindi siya for breeding, hindi siya for finishing, mga ganun. For maintenance lang talaga, iba yung nutrient na kailangan niya when compared to growth, yung mga swine that are for sa growing and then sa fattening stage. So, iba rin yung mga nutrient requirement na binibigay mo if yung swine mo is for growing and then for fattening. And then, iba rin yung nutrients na kailangan ng swine if it is for reproduction, and then iba rin sa lactation. So, sa maintenance kasi, more on if the animal is neither gaining or losing weight, and it does not work, it parang produces mga stored fat. So, sa maintenance, iba yung binibigay mo na nutrients. And then, same with the growth. So, sa growing kasi ng mga growers kasi, more on sa synthesis ng mga tissue, yung mga muscle, yung mga bone, yung mga fats. Mostly it will take place dun sa young animal. Kaya nag-grow pa lang, nagpo-produce or nagsisynthesize pa lang ng mga tissue for muscle, for bone, yung animal. Kaya dito sa growing stage or sa growth phase ng swine, it will require specific nutrients. So, kailangan niya ng mas maraming protein, mga ganun. So, I will discuss further kung ano yung mga kailangan na nutrients nitong mga physiological state, nitong mga different physiological state later on. So, for fattening naman, pag yung goal mo sa fattening, pag-increase ng fat deposition. And then for reproduction, it is needed when there is an increase in for the sperm production sa ova production mo or for the fetal development, mayroon ring mga specific nutrients na kailangan na ibigay doon sa mga gestating or farrowing na swine. And then, same with the lactation, since nagpo-produce ng milk yung sow, kailangan niya ng mas madaming calcium, mas madaming protein, so mga ganun. So, all of this physiological state, all of this different physiological state, it requires, yun nga, inulit ko, it requires specific nutrients. They require specific nutrients. So, for the physiological requirements as our additive na tinatawag. So, we have here what we call as the growth requirements must include maintenance needs and gestating. So, yung mga animal that are considered as growers, may mga nutrients requirements sila, di ba? Pero, meron rin sila dapat, you need to add more nutrients on their maintenance as well as if the animal is gestating. Same with growing animals need nutrients for their maintenance. So, hindi lang yung nutrients na kailangan mong growing animal yung ibibigay mo, as well as yung nutrients na kailangan niya for its maintenance. So, yun. So, we have here what we call as the parang this table shows yung different feed ingredients na pwedeng ibigay doon sa ratio, doon sa feed na pinapakain natin sa swine. So, you have here yung corn, sorghum, you also have yung rice bran, mga pollard or corn bran, mga copra oil meal, molasses, soybean oil meal, ipil-ipil, skim milk, whey powder, fish meal, meat and bone. So all of these are some examples of the feed ingredients, mga common examples of feed ingredients na nilalagay doon sa feed. Tapos, yun yung ibibigay. Fino-formulate, tapos ibibigay doon sa swine. So, here sa table na to, you have yung recommended maximum limits of different feed ingredients in swine ratio. So, hindi pwede na yung feed ingredients. So, for example, itong corn sorghum mo, hindi pwede na 100% nung ibibigay mo is corn and sorghum lamang. So, yung maximum level niya is 80% of the total ration lang. Yung dapat na maximum level of corn and sorghum na nandoon sa feed. So, yun. So, yung class na pwede mong yung class na pwedeng kumain nito or pwede mong ibigay itong corn and sorghum is lahat ng class. So, pwede sa starter, pre-starter, grower, finisher. So, pwede mong lagyan ng corn and sorghum yung feed nila. Basta yung maximum level is 80%. So, bakit nga ba hindi 100%? So, bakit hindi pwede na pure corn, pure sorghum yung ibibigay mo doon sa as feed sa swine? Kasi one reason is that it has low quality protein na tinatawag. So itong corn sorghum, more on cereal grain sila, so they provide energy to the animal, itong corn and sorghum. Pero they tend to have low quality protein. So kung 100% nito, itong corn and sorghum is yung ipapakain mo doon sa swine, yung kalalabasan is hindi siya makakakuha ng, hindi ka makakapag-provide ng feed na it will meet yung protein requirement ng swine. Kasi nga, yung corn and sorghum has low quality protein. And then, it also is a highly deficient in lysine and methionine. Itong corn and sorghum. So, hindi talaga pwede na 100%. So, maximum level lang is 80%. Itong lysine and methionine, these are the amino acids that are limiting amino acid yung tawag nito sa swine. Kaya, highly deficient sila itong corn and sorghum. Kaya hindi pwede, hindi advisable talaga. And then for economic reason, kasi itong corn and sorghum, medyo mahal. So, kung pure mo na ibibigay, baka malugi ka pa. So, maximum level lang ng pwede mong ibigay doon sa ration ng swine is 80%. Then, let's go naman dito sa molasses na tinatawag. So, for molasses, yung maximum level ng percentage na ibibigay mo doon sa swine ration is 0% doon sa pre-starter. So, 0% na molasses yung ibibigay mo sa pre-starter. So, meaning wala kang ibibigay. Kasi it will attract flies in farrowing pen. And then, yung molasses kasi hindi masyadong parang wala masyadong nutrients. So, for molasses kasi more on parang to increase yung palatability para para mas delicious yung feed, mas palatable doon sa swine. Kaya nila nilalagyan ng molasses. So, as you can see, konti lang yung ibibigay mo. Nasa 5% lang for starter and then 12% lang for other rations. Kasi, 5%, maliit lang na percentage yung dapat mong ibigay doon sa ration. Kasi, yung molasses, it may cause diarrhea or yung physiological scouring. And then, since yung molasses is medyo napegkut, it is difficult in mixing with ration. Kasi sticky siya, so talagang medyo difficult. So, kailangan na konti lang yung ibibigay mo. And then, another one is ipil-ipil. So, ganun rin. Konti lang na level. Nasa 5% for breeder and then 10% for finisher. So, yung reason kung bakit maliit lang is that reproductive problems due to mimosine content. So, yun yung parang kailangan nating isaalang-alang when it comes to giving yung feed ingredients, when it comes to giving yung correct amount, correct level of feed ingredient doon sa ration ng swine. One of those is that it may contain anti-nutritional properties, it may contain toxin doon sa it may contain toxin that may be harmful to the swine. Kaya, dapat you know yung maximum level na kailangan mong ibigay. Katulad nitong ipil-ipil. It is mimosine which can cause a reproductive problem. Kaya, 5% lamang yung maximum na dapat mong ibigay. Then, you also have yung fish meal na tinatawag. Fish meal, it is a good source of protein. 10% of the total ration lang yung maximum na dapat mong ibigay. So, it could be given to all classes, pre-starter, starter, finisher, mga ganon. So, yun yung gagawin. Yung reason kung bakit konti lang yung pwede mong ibigay is that fish meal is expensive. So, kaya dapat konti lang yung dapat mong ibigay. So, may mga other alternatives pa rin kaysa dun sa fish meal kasi masyadong expensive yung fish meal. So, all in all, itong table na to, pinapakita dito kung ano yung maximum level, ano yung limit ng yung na dapat mong ibigay on the different feed ingredients and kung ano yung class ng swine yung pwede mong ibigay itong mga feed ingredients na to at bakit ano yung reason kung bakit may limit doon sa pagbibigay nito. So same with this. Same with the may limitation rin. So like blood meal, low digestibility and palatable, low in isoleucine, kaya may limit yan doon sa pag-include mo doon sa feed ng animal. So, we have here what we call as the nutrient classification according to function na tinatawag. So, the nutrients are classified into yung energy nutrients, yung nutrients for... So, when we say energy nutrients, ito yung mga nanggagaling ito sa mga feeds that are rich in carbohydrates, fats, and proteins since these are the nutrients na kailangan mo para produce ng energy ng ATP yung swine. Then you also have nutrients for tissue building, maintenance, and repair. So when we say tissue building, maintenance, and repair, more on the protein ito. Pwede rin yung mineral. So yun yung mga nutrients na kailangan. And then nutrients for regulation of metabolic body processes. The one that is mostly responsible for this is yung water. Then also with the protein, pwede rin yung fats, minerals, and vitamins. So, yun yung mga function ng or classification ng nutrients according to their function. So, all of these nutrients except water are contained in various feed in varying amounts and bioavailabilities to the pig. So, lahat ng mga protein, mga carbohydrates, mga fat, mga mineral, mga vitamins, they na-take into account na ng mga nagfo-formulate ng feed. So, nandoon na mismo doon sa feed na ginawa nila. So, tinake into account na nila lahat ng mga nutrients na to. Except for the water. So, kailangan mo pa rin mag-provide ng water, ng drinking water. Kasi, hindi sapat yung water that comes from the feed doon sa para para doon sa water requirement ng swine. So, kailangan mo pa rin mag-provide ng water. And then, when we say bioavailability kasi, it will refer to the extent a substance or yung drug becomes completely available to the pig. So, yun yung meaning ng bioavailability. So, here we have yung recommended nutrient levels for different classes of swine that are fed ad libitum. So, yun. So, as you can see, we have yung energy. So, in mga suckling pig, kailangan nila na mataas na energy compared to the other classes. Same with their crude protein or yung protein na tinatawag. Kailangan nila ng mataas, nasa 24% compared to the other. And then calcium, kailangan ng growing suckling pig. Then you have lysine, methionine, cysteine, and then fiber which is less than 3%. So yun. So compare it doon sa finisher na class of swine which can yung energy requirement niya lang is nasa 2,800 to 2,900 which is mas mababa doon sa booster, doon sa suckling pig. Same with its crude protein, almost 10 yung nabawas. So 14% lang yung kailangan na crude protein for the finisher compared to the 24% for the booster. So yun. So this recommended nutrient level na tinatawag, this will act as a guide for the people who formulate yung feed, pwede rin sa'yo, since kung yung crude protein na binigay mo for yung finishing na pig mo is mataas, then it is your loss. Lugi ka dun. Kasi yung kailangan lang pala ng finisher na baboy is nasa 14% crude protein. So, yun lang yung dapat mong ibigay. Kung magbibigay ka ng sobra, wala ring silbi, most probably, malulugi ka pa. So, yun. So, this will act as a guide. So, itong nutrient recommendation na to, hindi masyadong nagbabago throughout the years. So, as you can see, it is yung 1987 pa lang, from Picard pa lang. So, medyo old na pero the nutrient recommendations for this different class of swine, they are already been established kaya hindi masyadong nagbabago dito sa mga nire-recommend nila na nutrients for swine. So, aside from that, yung mineral kasi tinatawag, yung pig, it will require at least 13 elements. So, you have yung calcium, chlorine, mga copper, iodine, iron, manganese, magnesium, mga phosphorus, mga potassium, selenium, sodium, mga sulfur, zinc, and cobalt. So, ito yung mga 13 elements na tinatawag na kailangan ng pig. So, the function of these minerals ranges from structural to regulation of metabolic processes. So, maraming function ito. May iba't ibang function ang mga elements na to in order to maintain yung body processes, in order to regulate the body functions of the animal. So, like for example, the calcium. Calcium is mostly needed by the lactating sow. Kasi it needs yung calcium in order to produce yung high quality na milk. Same with growing and suckling pigs. Kailangan nila ng calcium for their bone development. So yun. Basta lahat ng mga 13 elements na to, they serve a function on the body of the animal, on the physiological functions of the animal. So here in the table, you can see yung mga mineral, mga example ng mineral at yung mga sources nila. So, like for example, manganese, ito yung mga sources, pwede yung manganese carbonate, yung oxide or yung sulfate. Same with the zinc. Pwede yung chloride, oxide, or yung sulfate na tinatawag. So, on vitamins naman, these are organic compounds distinct from amino acids, carbohydrates, and lipids. So, itong vitamins na to, they are mostly needed in the body of the swine in small amount lamang compared to the other nutrients. Pero hindi ibig sabihin na kahit small amount lang yung kailangan nila is hindi na sila importante. For the vitamins, they are necessary for yung normal growth and production ng swine. Kailangan pa rin ng vitamins. Kasi pag deficient ka sa vitamins, hindi, most of the time, it will result to mga diseases. Then, for vitamins, you have two parang distinct type or two types of vitamins. You have yung fat-soluble vitamins, which is yung A, D, E, and K. And then yung water-soluble vitamins, which is yung B complex and ascorbic acid. So, most of the time, yung mga supplement, mga vitamin supplements na binibigay doon sa swine are more on the fat-soluble. You have yung vitamin A, vitamin D, E, and K. So, for the B complex naman, you also have mga biotin, choline, folacin, niacin, pantothenic acid, mga riboflavin, at saka yung mga cyanocobalamin na tinatawag. So, these are mga vitamin B complex. So, deficiency of this vitamin B complex, it may result to decrease in energy production, decrease in energy delivery, that may affect yung body system ng animal. So, vitamin requirements are expressed either as international unit per kilogram, pwedeng IU per kilogram, milligram per kilogram, feed or parts per million. So, yun yung pwede mong i-express as doon sa vitamins. So, ito, I know that all of these nutrients are discussed extensively doon sa feed and feedings ninyo na subject doon sa ANSI 102 na subject ninyo. So, I know that you've discussed about yung mga glycolysis, mga electron transport system, kung paano nakakaano ng ATP yung animal. So, this parang lecture is just a recap doon sa mga importance ng mga iba't ibang nutrients natin. So, with that, we also have what we call as feed additives na tinatawag. So, feed additives like antimicrobial agents, enzymes, probiotics, sweeteners and flavoring agents, hormone, and antioxidants. So, all of these feed additives, hindi common na binibigay doon sa feed ng animal. May mga certain situations, certain physiological situations lang na kailangan mong magbigay nitong mga feed additives na to. Like for example, yung antimicrobial agent. Itong antimicrobial agent, binibigay lang doon sa animal if it has infection, mga ganun. Since it is an antimicrobial, then kailangan ito pag may infection, may bacterial infection doon sa animal. And then for enzymes, this is mostly needed by animals that have difficulty in digesting. So ito yung binibigay. Same with probiotics. Kailangan ng animal for digestibility and then for added nutrients. Then for sweeteners and flavoring agents, mostly are needed by the animal to increase yung palatability ng feed na kinakain nila. When you have increased palatability kasi, most probably, mas madaming kakainin compared doon sa hindi palatable or hindi masyadong gusto ng animal. Then for hormones, this is needed sa reproduction, mostly sa reproduction. So like for example, yung hormone oxytocin, which is injected doon sa mga farrowing sow that have difficulty in farrowing. Doon sa mga sow that have difficulty in farrowing, then most probably, ini-injectan nila ng oxytocin, mga ganun. And then, you also have antioxidant which is given to the feed in order to prevent rancidity or yung pagkasira ng feed. So yun. So basta when we say feed additives, these are mostly yun nga, yung tawag na additives. These are mostly added to the feed of the animal on special occasions, on mga specific physiological situations. So yun, hindi na yung palagi ka na lang nagbibigay ng mga to. So hindi pwede. Kasi most probably baka it may result to toxicity, it may result to baka may ibang it may result to mga diseases, mga ganun. Or it may result to diseases, mga toxicity, ganun. Kung palagi kang nagbibigay nito. So, let's then discuss yung mga feed for swine. So, yung swine, it belongs to the monogastric species na tinatawag, and should be given combination of high energy, low fiber feed at the least possible cost. So, yun. Kasi, since swines are monogastric species, they need high energy and then low fiber. So, bakit low fiber? Because they are not ruminants. So, they cannot effectively utilize yung fiber pag binibigay mo. Yung mga fiber na binibigay mo, hindi sila ganun ka-effective sa pag-utilize, sa pag-digest, compared mo dun sa mga ruminant species. So, at the least possible cost. So, yun yung, kasi yung feed, yung pinapakain mo most of the time, it usually accounts to 75 to 80% of the total production cost. So, ganun kataas yung nagagastos mo doon sa feed lamang. Nasa 75 o 80%. So, yun yung ganun kataas yung nagagastos mo on feed. So, kailangan na yung ibibigay mo at the least possible cost, pero it can provide pa rin yung mga nutrient requirement ng swine. So, swine feeds are grouped into yung basal or energy feed and then protein feed na tinatawag. So, when we say basal feed, ito yung mga energy that are low, energy feed that are low in fiber. So, nasa less than 18% crude fiber. So, when the feed stuff is categorized as less than 18% crude fiber, that is categorized as energy feed or basal feed na tinatawag. So, when it is low in fiber, most of the time, it is high in energy doon sa basal feed na tinatawag. So, for protein feed naman, low in fiber feed pa rin, pero more than 20% crude protein. So, yun yung protein feed na tinatawag. So, protein feed can either come from, when we say protein kasi, it comes from mga plants like legumes, mga grains, mga oil seeds. And then, pag mga protein naman, protein feed that comes from animal, you have yung mga blood meal, mga bone meal na ganun. So, pwedeng, yung protein feed mo, pwedeng nanggaling doon sa plant or doon sa animal and other marine sources. So, animal protein are superior to plant protein because they contain higher essential amino acid. However, they are more expensive. So, yun yung advantage and disadvantage ng plant protein and then yung animal protein. So, for plant protein, they contain less protein compared to animal protein, but they are less expensive. So, mas makakamura ka. Sa animal protein naman, mas superior, mas maraming makukuha protein, pero more expensive kasi masyadong hindi madaling makapag-produce ng animal protein. Doon sa blood meal, sa bone meal, maraming processing pa yan na kailangan pagdaanan bago mo pwedeng ibigay doon sa feed ng animal. So, of the plant protein, soybean oil meal is comparable to many proteins in terms of quality. So, yun yung parang pinakasikat na source of protein, yung soybean oil meal na tinatawag or yung SBOM na tinatawag. So yun yung magandang feedstuff na from plant origin na pwede mong ibigay doon sa feed ng animal. Then, most legume grain contains anti-nutrients which depress nutrient availability. Thus, they have to be heat-treated to destroy the toxic content. One of the many advantage rin kasi ng plant protein that comes from plants is that they have mga anti-nutritional nutrients, may mga substances sila na toxic sa animal, may mga substances sila na it can retard or it can prevent yung nutrient utilization. So, yun yung kailangan isaalang-alang when it comes to looking for ingredients for protein. So, thus they have to be heat treated to destroy yung toxic content nila. So, yun yung ginagawa mostly on mga plant protein. With that ends my video lecture on the first topics for the feeds and feeding for swine. So on the next video lecture, I'm going to talk about the feeding management for the different classes of swine. Doon sa suckling, doon sa finishing, growing, mga lactating, farrowing. So I will discuss further yung mga feeding management na kailangan gawin. So with that, please go over this video lecture and thank you for listening.